Welcome to English Country Life. This is one of our Buff Orpington pullets, and she is incredibly friendly and very amenable to being touched. We've been asked a lot of questions about how to train our chickens and how to actually get them close to allow them to be handled. So in this video, I'm going to show you how we go about making sure our chickens are friendly. Welcome, my name's Fiona. Most animals out there have a fight or flight instinct. Fight is normally associated with animals that are predatory, but chickens are prey animals, so they generally have that flight instinct and are very jumpy and are more likely to run away rather than come to humans. So how do we go about making our chickens happy to be handled, like this little pullet here? She's off to her new home tomorrow, and the new owners are getting a pullet who's happy to see humans, happy to be around humans and happy to be hand-fed by them. But how do we do it? In this video, I'm going to talk you through some of the tricks that we use to make sure that our chickens are happy to be around us, want to be around us, and are happy to be handled. The biggest component needed to get your chickens to get used to you is simply time. As we discussed in the opener, chickens are flight animals, so rather than standing and fighting when they sense danger, they're more likely to run away. And anything new is inherently to them dangerous, so they're more likely to run away. So the only way really to get them starting to come to you and seeing you not as a threat is to spend time. Now the great thing about chickens is they do recognize faces, and research has shown that they will recognize up to 100 faces. So if you sit with them on a regular basis, they will gradually get used to your face and realize you're not a threat. The key to that is sitting calmly, quietly, no sudden movements, no sudden noises, and just spend that time. Now I'm not making special time with the chickens, but when I would normally take a coffee break or a tea break, I bring out my cuppa and I just sit in an old garden chair and let them wander around, and that gets them used to me. Once your chickens have begun to recognise you and you've spent that time in the chicken pen with them, you can start offering them treats. Now this is a great way to encourage them to come much closer. And I generally start with hand feeding. And I bring them some treats, just a very small amount, and very, very patiently hold my hand out at arm's length and wait for the chickens to come to me. To begin with, the chickens will be very reluctant and they'll be looking at those treats in your hand, wondering what they are. But over time, if you're patient, they'll come closer and closer and closer. Once the chickens start to take the treats from your outstretched hands, you can gradually move it closer and closer to your body. This means that the chickens want to continue accessing those treats, they've got to get closer and closer to you. Patience is absolutely the key here, and it could take hours, it could take days, it may even take weeks, depending on how nervous your particular chickens are, which might be down to them as individuals, or it may be down to their breed. But just take your time and they will come closer and closer. How do you go about choosing the right treats for your chickens to encourage them to come to you? Well, to me, there are 3 criteria to think about. The first is you want it to be something the chickens see as being special. We give our chickens pellets, and they've got them in on-demand feeders. So I'm not going to offer pellets to them as a treat because they don't see it as something special. Why would they come to me for them when they can go to their feeder? The second thing is I want it to be reasonably affordable. Now that may not be a criteria for everyone, but for us it's something we want to think about. And the third criteria is nutritional balance. As I've said, the pellets we give our chickens are brilliantly nutritionally balanced. Now the only problem with giving them treats is if we give too much of something which is too fatty or got a low amount of nutrients, it's going to throw out of kilter all of that research we've done in selecting our pellets. So let's have a chat about the different types of treats that some owners give their chickens, and you can make a choice for you. The first is sweet corn or maize, and that can be given as a dried maize kibble, as a mixed corn mixture, or as corn on the cob itself. Now don't get me wrong, those treats your chickens will go crazy for. As soon as they eat them, they will absolutely crave them. However, there's a couple of downsides there. The first is they are very, very fatty for the chickens, and they will very quickly add a layer of fat to their bodies. And overweight and obese chickens, it sounds strange, but it is a thing, and it does add to a number of health issues. So very, very small quantities are advised for sweet corn and dried maize kibble. The other issue is it raises their core body temperatures. Now 1 hour before they go to bed on a very cold winter's night, that's not a bad thing because it helps to keep them warm when they go to roost. However, on a hot summer's day, it can be a really bad idea because it can lead to your chickens overheating. So it's just something to consider. So in that case, I would recommend small quantities, but your chickens will go crazy for them. Another thing which a lot of owners give their chickens as treats is bread. Now again, your chickens will go crazy, but please, please, please rethink whether this is a treat for your chickens. And the reason I say that is this is a very common cause of impacted crop. When you eat bread, if you think about it, when you eat it and you chew it, it does actually go quite doughy as you chew it. Now that is the same for your chickens, and if it goes doughy and gets stuck in their crop in a ball, they can't move it down to their gizzard and into the digestive system, so it can be a real problem. So it is one to think about. Well, first of all, if you are going to give it, please give it in very, very small quantities, but if possible, please, please, please look for something else. And if you're in the US or in other countries, not the UK, because in the UK we cannot by law give these as treats, mealworms, insect larvae, crickets, very high in protein, great treats for your chickens, and they will crave them. They will absolutely love them. So that's a good idea to encourage them to come to you. It's not going to throw out what you give them in your feeders as nutritional balance too much. So actually they're a good option, but only if you're outside of the UK. Check with your individual country what's actually allowed by law. We have chosen instead to go for whole wheat grains, and these meet our criteria exactly. They're not the core foodstuffs, so the chickens do see them as special. They are affordable because for a 25 kilo sack we buy these from our feed merchant and we only get charged £7.99, so actually very cheap, and they're pretty well nutritionally balanced, so they're not throwing out the nutritional balance of the pellets too much at all. They're quite high in protein and very good for the chickens, so providing we don't go crazy with them in quantity, they do meet all of the criteria. Another trick for getting your chickens to come to you is a consistent container. Now you'll notice every time I give treats to the chickens, I'm using this metal jug. Now you might think, well, what's the point? There is a very good point. They notice this from a much further distance than they would the treats inside, and that has a few advantages. The first is, if for whatever reason they ever get out of their free range field area, that they'll see this from a much further distance and are more likely to come for treats just because they see the metal canister. And the other thing is, if for whatever reason I want to change their treats and it's something that they're not really recognizing, as long as it comes to them in this metal canister, they know it's something good. So it is something to think about. Choose a consistent container and actually that will work to your advantage. What you can do over time is, as you feed them, just put your hand out very gently, very slowly. Now, to begin with, they will pull away, but over time, and you have to be persistent and consistent, and this is a theme which will keep coming up in this training. As you can see, she really starts to tolerate it. And this young lady has now got to the point where I can pick her up, stick her on my knee, and voila, here we go. And she's very, very happy. And this, of course, is the point that everyone wants to get to, that they have chickens that can sit on their lap, don't mind being touched, don't mind being handled. And this young lady is exactly that. We can do weekly health checks on her, pick her up, check for any parasites, check for any injuries, and make sure she's in tip-top condition. Now, this young lady is actually sold, and she's going to her new home tomorrow, and what they're going to be getting is a pullet who is happy with human contact and will more easily integrate into their family environment, because she is actually going to be a family pet. If you have liked this content, take a moment and give me a thumbs up below. If you're not already a subscriber to the channel, hit subscribe and the bell icon, and you'll be notified of any new video as soon as it goes live. If you've got any questions for me, please leave them in the comment section and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But for now, thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next time.